Hey guys, and welcome to JakeMakes. Today we are continuing the epic PVC Slingshot Rifle arrow shooter thing that I started in part 1. In case you didn't see part 1, go watch part 1. For those of you who saw part 1, this is part 2, where hopefully we will finish this bad boy up. And I think long introductions can be kind of silly, so let's just get started. Okay, here is where we are at. We got our PVC basic frame all done, got the rubber cut, whatever that's called, got that attached, pulley is attached correctly, everything works well, all the parts are glued up, hole for ammo storage worked on, we'll finish that up later, and we got the about 3/4 inch wide notch cut down the entire thing. The next step is to work on our trigger mechanism and cut out the middle wood stock-ish portion. Alright, and here we come to our first minor complication of this build. In part 1, I told you we were going to be using this pine board. It's like 1x8, looks like. Yeah, pine 1x8. And I chose this because it's easily accessible at most hardware stores. Costs like $7 for this board compared to plywood, which you have to buy in 4x8 foot sheets. This is the way to go. Here's the problem. For the trigger mechanism, you can't use this stuff. Regular wood is not as strong as plywood is because this stuff has different plies in it, logically, and it's all glued together, and basically it's just a whole ton stronger. For a trigger mechanism like this, you really need something that's strong. You don't want any chance of your trigger breaking. So for the trigger, you have to use either plywood or you have to use metal. And metal takes a lot more tools and is more complicated to work with than plywood. So I decided we're going to use plywood for this. So then that begs the question, well, if you already have to have plywood to build this, then why would I use pine for the stock portion when that's also going to be weaker when you already have to have plywood, so we might as well just use plywood for it. It doesn't take any more difficult tools, it's just harder to get a hold of and more expensive, but you have to have it anyway, so I'm just going to use plywood for everything rather than that stuff. Okay? Okay. Let's go ahead and cut out the stock portion. This bad boy piece, which will connect the back PVC stock to this main frame that's going to slide in here. I'm leaving a large amount of room for the trigger mech up here, so we're going to have about this much space of which the plywood's going to come in. So who makes a pencil without an eraser on the end? Really smart people, that's who. Who doesn't have an eraser in this entire shop? Another really smart person, that's who. Oh wait, there's one. Never mind that. And that is what the wood part should look like. Here's where our main PVC section will come in. Here's where our second stock PVC will come in. We have an overhang deal there, as you can see on my drawing there, for a scope or sight system. Yep, pretty simple. Now we will go ahead and cut that bad boy out with a hand saw. Okay, I've got this thing absolutely gorgeous looking now. It's all sanded down. I hand sanded it down to probably 220, I believe it was. Everything, all the file work, rasp work, everything, got it all smoothed out, looking pretty. Now we take this thing, and this slides up to about right there. Now this gap in here is where we're going to put our trigger mechanism. Have about this much room. And I believe it's time to start working on that, because that's probably going to take the most time as far as fine-tuning everything goes. Probably take a bit of time to do that. So let's go ahead and get started on that right now. Okay, here is the trigger. It's a very, very simple trigger. String hooks here. It's prevented from spinning, of course, by this bar here. You got a bolt here and here. You pull that trigger, pops it down. This thing spins, releasing the string, which then, of course, goes off. So here you can see how it kind of fits together. I drew out the trigger longer than I think it needs to be because of the way I'm designing it. I don't think we have quite enough leverage for a small trigger, so I'm making the trigger bar long for now. I'll see if I can fix that later. Oh, also, this part is long back here so that when this turns, it's unable to spin completely around. It'll be blocked by this part up here, so that when you go to recock it, you just bring this up. It pushes that bar back down. This one has a spring connected to it, so it pops back up, and it basically resets itself very easily. So let's go ahead and get this thing done so we can do a mock-up of it before putting this whole bad boy together. You know what? You already saw me cut wood, you know what it looks like, so let's just skip straight to having these things all beautiful cut out and everything, because otherwise it's going to take a few dozen years. So yeah. Alright, got the trigger pieces done, finished, and hooked them up on this board with screws. I drilled the holes because you guys know how to drill holes, I think. Obviously, now you can see that it actually does work. I have a spring connected to a, what is that, a little eye screw thing. Went ahead and connected that because y'all don't need to know how to screw one of those into there. Just make sure to pilot hole it first so it doesn't split the plywood. Found a spring, attached that to a screw, and as you can see, it works pretty well. So say we have our bowstring here, comes in there and locks logically. Now you pull the trigger, boom, flies out. Of course, when you want to reset it, you just pull the string up, push it down, this automatically locks back in place because of the spring, push it forward, boom. So it's very, very easy to reset, which is almost self-resetting. Really, really cool. The leverage feels about right. I mean, I can push on it with quite a lot and it's still extremely easy to flip open. That's the key thing with designing a trigger. I have made that mistake before. You don't want that. But even putting all of the pressure I can with my hand, super, super easy. So I think this will work really well. Awesome! It's raining. It's raining, it's pouring, oh man. Sweeto. And the arrow rest flips down out of the way for the other ammo. Oh, that's cool. Oops, I forgot to mention these little things. I cut out some little tiny pieces of PVC and screwed them to the front. They're just flexible little things, and they sit in front of the rollers to prevent the bands from jumping out when fired. I also went ahead and got this old stirrup that I made out of some PVC, which I just heated up, flattened out, and then bent into shape. I formed it around the PVC so that it sits just right there, as you can see. I didn't make this today. I actually made this thing like a year ago for a crossbow that didn't end up working. So I don't have any video of that, but you don't need video of how to bend PVC with a heat gun. It's easy. So I'll go ahead and attach that bad boy right there. That's cool. All right, time to attach this piece to this piece.
Are you recording?
Yep.
Does it matter that I'm talking to you?
Or depends on whether or not I decide to put that in there.
Jake's a genius.
Yes, he is. Genius here bought bolts that are just too small. Look at that. Ain't that beautiful? Now he's gonna have to fix that. Ah, there, that works. Goodness, it got busy in here all of a sudden. Now here's the tricky part with this particular design, because I can't exactly see where the holes are in these. I don't know, I probably shouldn't have drilled the holes in these yet and drilled through both of them at the same time. That probably would have worked a lot better, but I'm just gonna have to figure it out. It'll probably take a little while. Oh, and this spring, I'm gonna be able to attach the spring right to this PVC wall there. I'm just going to screw that on with a little screw right into the PVC, and that'll hold that in place. Okay. Okay, I figured out the holes need to be drilled here and here. Now let's carefully, scientifically drill them to be perfectly straight up and down through the center of this thing. And don't that look just lovely? Look at that. The bottom hole is farther this way than the top hole is, so this thing's off kilter compared to the rest of it. See how it's not sitting in there straight? Howdy, it's been a couple days since I've turned the camera on. As you can see, it's all beautiful, finished up, attached, fine-tuned, and everything. It did not take me a couple days to do that, but I got busy, I guess, and it's been a couple days since I turned the camera on. So as you can see, it is working perfectly. And put as much pressure on that as you want. Stays solid until you pull that. Then it instantly springs forward, and actually that didn't end up working. I accidentally cut it too short. Brilliant. But it is prevented from swinging all the way around by that part there. So it works pretty much the same. Your bowstring comes up, you can just push on it and it re-locks in place. This of course is held in tension by the spring that I said I was going to put in there. So cool. Alright, so let's go ahead and take the 1-inch diameter PVC pipe and mark where that's going to go. It's going to come about this far, so I'll go ahead and mark where the end is. That's where I'll need to cut down to. Then, I reckon a good size for a stock will be probably about here. So let's mark where we're going to bend the PVC. And then another, I'm going to cut it long just in case, say about 1 Sharpie after that mark. I'll make it a little bit longer. Sharpie and 1/8. Cutting PVC in the worst possible way possible. Oddly familiar for some reason. Did I have a nightmare about this once? Yeah, definitely a bad dream. Hiya! Alright, now what I'm going to do is take and heat up the PVC right here and bend it down so where this part is at a right angle to the rest of it, and that'll form a little stock thing. To do that, we're going to use a heat gun, and I'm just going to heat up that part of the PVC there until it's soft and pliable, and then I can bend it and cool it down while it's in that shape, and it'll stay in that shape. Wait a minute. Heat guns are power tools, aren't they? I'm going to do it without using any power tools. I know I'm going to be eating those words by the time this is over. Like, I am. Wow. I think we're actually done. Man, that thing looks pretty cool. Cooler than I thought it would, actually. And less cool than I thought it would at the same time. There are a couple things I added off camera that I should probably say a couple things about. I added a rail here for a sight system. I believe I'm going to put a scope on it. This thing I took off of an old airsoft gun. I just screwed it onto the top of this part here. I also added this piece of PVC which I cut down and heat formed. That will press down on the arrow when you're firing arrows out of it, and it should be able to slide like this out of the way for shooting slingshot ammo. I also put a dowel through this hole right here, the accidental hole, so that for ammo storage, when you put like a bag of your slingshot ammo in there, it won't be able to slide as far. It'll be contained in this section here. All's left now is the painting of this bad boy. I guess it's time for a test firing. I don't have any slingshot ammo out here, so I think I'm just going to try shooting an arrow. First test shot, you know, things could go wrong, so take every safety precaution necessary. Got the safety tie on, I'm completely invincible, so let's go ahead and do this. Alrighty. And that shows two things. Number one, it works. Number three, my band holding system does not work. And number six, it's not very powerful at shooting arrows. And to be honest, I actually expected all three of those things. And I think this is where we wrap up part 2 of the construction of this thing, because it's finished. And that seems like a pretty good place to wrap up. It's also very late at night, and I should probably go to bed. So, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Like the video if you liked the video. That would make a lot of sense. Subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. That would also make a lot of sense. I mean, if you want to see them, then it would be nice to see them when I make a new one. Especially because a real testing video will be coming out in about a week, or whenever I get it done. when this thing will be completely finished, all the little things will be worked out. It will look a lot cooler because it will have a slick paint job. And I'll be testing this thing quite a bit with slingshot ammo and arrows and just a full, thorough testing video. Be really, really cool. I'm super excited about that. So subscribe if you don't want to miss that video. Thank you guys so much for watching once again. See you on the next episode of Jake Makes. Jake.